Hi, it's Bobbie from Bobbie's Baking Blog, and today we're going to talk about fashion-inspired fondant. This was actually inspired by the Haute Couture Spring and Summer show that happened last year. It's an inspiration of a Stephen Rowland dress that Cake Central had sent me and asked if I would use my vision to see what I could come up with from the dress. The picture of the dress will be on the post, but I thought I would go into how do you start doing a fashion-inspired fondant cake. So this would be the side of the dress where you see your cascading. This was linen. Actually, it was a odd silicone material that he used, but it reminded me a little bit of linen. And then this is the front, and the front had a little V-neck going on. And all there was on there was these flowery petaling things. So I'm going to show you how I created them. So we're actually going to make this wheel flower that I kind of came up with that looked like the adornment that was on the dress. There weren't any real embellishments. There were these little almost wheel roses and what I thought looked like petals. So I'm going to show you how I did that. And the first thing I did was I made a 50-50 mixture of gum paste and fondant. I used an antique white because it was an ivory colored dress. And I did various sizes of circle cutters. So for this we needed a saw cup. I used a linen rolling tool, some foam, and edible glue. So I want to just bring in the fabric to this. And when you dust this, and I dusted it with a pearl, you'll see those lines come out more. And the next thing you want to do is just bend it in half without creasing it, and bend it in half again. So you kind of have a corner that looks like that. And if you look at this wheel, you can see there's four that are going to come together. So I will make bottom. We're going to do the exact same thing. And actually, I am going to go ahead and put it on both sides, which I didn't do on that one. Probably better to put it on both sides. I'm wondering if this is a little flatter. We're actually going to use this guy instead. I think he's just a little, yeah, we'll stay with him. You don't have to wait for the bottom to dry. In fact, I want you to do everything while it's still wet. And I'll show you why. And we are going to glue these together, but I want to kind of wait until I have all four. And I think I'm actually going to just build it on here instead. Now, I'm not too worried about frayed edges because the material was a little bit frayed. Some of them I kept frayed, some of them I made smooth. I did a little bit of research, like I said, on the particular garment that I went ahead and recreated in a fashion-inspired way. And Stephen Rowland is known for using inventive materials that he comes up with. So I needed it to look like the cake was a walking, living statue, because that's what his model looked like, was a walking, living statue. And that's what he said. And I'm just gluing, I'm sorry here. I'm gluing the sides together to bring them together. So we're going to bring those two sides together, and then I'll finish telling you my Stephen Rowland story. We don't want to use too much. And we want to keep this open, so that's what the foam is for. I want the bottom to stay a little bit flat, but I want this part to be open, so it has movement. Again, back to what the interview with Stephen Rowland was all about. He said that he used a silicone type of fabric to make the model look like it was a walking statue. So that was pretty much what I needed to do with my fashion-inspired cake. I wasn't going to make her, or make the cake look like her, but it needed to represent the outfit. And like I said, that outfit will be on my post, so you'll be able to see it. What I originally did was I ran my 50/50 paste, which is gum paste, like I said, in Fondant, through a pasta machine, and then just cut it with my circle cutters. I think that's all I'm going to get out of that one. So there wasn't a lot of embellishments going on the dress, so I didn't have the opportunity to put crystals or little blossoms or that kind of stuff on there because it wasn't a part of the dress. And we're just going to keep building up on here and putting it in and bringing them up. So I'm going to put the second layer on, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so I wanted to get the next two on of the next layer, but I did want to show you how this next layer is done because you have to connect it. And my little pieces of foam I keep hitting. So we're going to do our quarter fold again. Now it's important we do not want to really ball to it or ruffle it because when you see the dress, you will see how straight everything was. And I tried as hard as I could to really capture what he was trying to do. That actually looked better right there, so we'll put them there. And we want the pieces to connect. So because we want them to connect, we're going to take a little bit of our glue and kind of bring them together. And it doesn't really matter where they connect at. Oh my. As long as they connect. And what I did for the cake that I just showed you was I just did a bunch of different sizes, and then literally I took a orchard petal cutter for the little petals you saw in between and rolled them with the same linen rolling pin. And then put them on the cake. Everything was attached to the cake with royal icing. And I've been meaning to show you how to do this since last year. I just got busy and forgot that I wanted to show you. So I'm glad now I have the chance. And for a while there, it was a secret, so it wasn't supposed to be shown anyway. Until Volume 4, Issue 9 came out. So what you want to do is just make sure that you get enough, not too much of your glue, and you put it in so that you can bring these to attach to one another. And wherever you see, like right here is flat, I want that to be open. I don't really want any flat spots except on the very, very bottom. And the only reason I'm leaving that bottom flat is because I want it to have something stable so that I can attach it to the cake. So you do want to leave that part a little bit flat. And then for the center, and depending on how big your circle cutter is going to depend on how many layers you did. On this one, I did 2 layers, and I have a hole in him. So I'm just gonna, since I have some extra, I'll go ahead and get another one. If you have a hole, don't worry about it. No one's going to see it on this middle layer. If you have a hole and it's the outside layers, obviously you're going to want to get another circle cutter. So what I did to make the inside of this was I did my fork cut and then I just scrunched it together. And I put the foam inside to let it lay. And I'm going to just gently cut off, there's my tool. I'm just going to cut off the bottom here so that it will lay flat and inside. And that, I cannot tell you how much to cut off because that actually is going to be depending on what size you have and how high you want the middle to stand. So then you're going to come in here and you're going to carefully lay that down and you're going to put your foam inside each of these pieces. And as I'm putting my finger in here, I'm going to take just a drop of this edible glue and attach it. And I make my own edible glue with Tylose water and a little bit of powdered sugar. But if you can purchase edible glue, you could also use an egg white if you wanted to. For this, I did not want to use an egg white in case some of that edible glue got in a place where I wanted to put a little more dusting powder, because you know that egg white acts like a shellac. You wouldn't be able to get that in there. So just look around, make sure that you're pretty open everywhere, and then you're going to let this dry overnight. And I believe there are 125 of these in different sizes all over the cakes, and then just little petals out here. And when I say little petals, you can either cut them with an orchard petal cutter, and that's what I did for some of them, and for others all I did was this. Everything got rolled with the linen rolling pin. And then I just did this, and I put them on the cake like so. And that was how it laid in between the wheels. So when this is done, you want to dust it so that you get this beautiful shimmering color. I don't know if I told you that I rolled everything very thin to a number 7 on the pasta machine, except for the center, he was a 6. I don't know why, I just thought it would look better that way. But I tried to not have too much frill going on, to have as much openness as I possibly could with this, and then I dusted it with a very light shimmering pearl. And you'll attach it to your cake with royal icing. I hope you enjoy this. Thank you.